Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audiblepodcast.com/Sorgatron Media. Over 75,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, iPhone, or MP3 player.
I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said now. I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the AwesomeCast. I am the Alpha Michael Sorg on the internet. That's right. Of michaelsorg.com. It's mine now. We'll get into that later. And usually I have my trusty co-host, but he is gallivanting across these United States and
that's right.
And America's hat.
This week we've replaced him with that. And they can't see it, but it's a scary guy from the Scare House website.
Yeah.
That's Rob this week.
That's Rob?
Yeah.
What do you think, Rob? There you go.
All right.
It's an interesting opinion about the T-Mobile AT&T merger. But anyways, but of course, behind the board...
Really? You're dropping that now? We're going to start...
No, we'll lead into it. But of course, behind the boards, as usual, our video DJ in training, Chachi. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
You're doing good?
Yeah.
You're good. All right.
It's been an exciting week. I mean, I can't really complain. So, yeah.
Good.
You want to read them?
What's that?
You want to read them the details?
Oh, there's details. You can contact us. We usually do this after the intro part.
That's fine.
Oh.
No, we're doing it now.
Okay. He's running it.
You have company over. You shouldn't be fighting in front of him. That's just...
No, that means it's a good show already. So you got that up. You can contact us, contact@awesomecast.com, or you can phone us at 724-258-CAST. It's 252-2278 for the rest of you. So we need to fix that so it's not just staring at you, staring at me.
I know.
While I'm reading the screen. A little bit technical stuff. This is hard. Video's hard, guys.
You want me to just bust a move when you start doing that?
Yeah. Like you dance to my number telling 724-25-ACAST. Minutes from the mall. All right. Only you Pittsburgh guys are going to get that. But with us, we have a special guest in the studio. You know him as Scare Out Scott on the Twitter.
On the Twitter, yes. That's what the kids are calling it these days.
Can I call you Scarehouse?
Mr. Scarehouse will be fine.
Okay. Mr. Scarehouse Scott Simmons from scarehouse.com, of course, the infamous, I don't know. It depends on how your trip was.
Exactly.
Scarehouse from, I believe, it's in Etna, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Scarehouse that's famous. I'm just that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually around when the shows are running on Travel Channel and everything else, I get the look and the mumble of, I think that's that guy. But that's about as far as my fame really goes, I think. Fantastic.
You've been kind of a fixture. The Scarehouse has been something I've heard about years ago.
Okay.
Got to attend a few years ago, my first time. I got to return this year, but I can't get away from you because, for one, you've invaded my pod camp.
Yes.
And the reason, first, for those uninitiated, of course, you can check it out at scarehouse.com. There's plenty of stuff, and that's sort of why you're here. But can you explain the Scarehouse, to the people, the uninitiated?
Yeah, absolutely. Scarehouse is a haunted house, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's here. Very nice. It's here in Pittsburgh. And we've just been lucky enough to get a lot of national recognition, particularly over the last few years. Scarehouse has been around since '99, but just within the last 5 or 6 years, once we moved into the location we're in now, and thanks to the internet, thanks to social media, thanks to a lot of luck.
You guys being insanely awesome.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, I mean...
But, we've been lucky enough to be on the Travel Channel a couple times. Travel Channel actually named us as one of America's scariest Halloween attractions. And once the Travel Channel did that, it kind of opened the gates to being in things like some of the industry mags like Fangoria and Haunted Attraction Magazine have given us some awards for like best in the country. But now that's even spreading into further things like Forbes Magazine, Money Magazine, AOL News. Just every year there are more and more people talking about us, which is pretty trippy, but also pretty nice. And people ask, and it really is, it's our full-time job now. It's such an elaborate production, and we change so much of it every year that it takes all year that we're working away at it. We started construction a few weeks ago, started design in January, because it's a very, very elaborate attraction. We really try to deliver the kind of experience you'd expect to see.
The three of them down at Station Square.
Yeah.
I forget what they used to. The Fright Nights down there, right?
That was Romero's.
Well, the last one. I mean, the last one we went to, they had a night.
That was Romero's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
the last one we went to, they had the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Down there.
And you know what? No, I'm sorry. It wasn't that good.
It gets better because I think after we went to Scare House this year, I went down to Castle Blood because I had some free tickets. Did you know Castle Blood?
Yes.
I mean, they're the lot. They do a lot, and it's out there. It's a really elaborate house for out in the middle of nowhere, but it wasn't scary for one thing. Except for the one little girl in our group.
But, I think the thing I love about the industry, and it's an actual industry, I was just talking to somebody the other day about it. It's backing up a little bit. I mean, I got started in this in the mid-'80s, back at the days of the Cloverleaf area YMCA haunted house and the JC's style haunted house where I still remember the first time I was sort of in charge of that YMCA haunted house. I think we had a budget of $1,200 for the entire season, which was mind-blowing back then. Now that would barely cover a pizza budget for a couple weekends.
Oh yeah.
It's really grown since then. I mean, I've been doing haunted houses in one form or another here in Pittsburgh since the mid-'80s. That's where I met my wife Barb, who's one of the owners of Scare House, and it's grown to this international industry. We have associations, we have magazines, we have all this, and one of the things I like about as an industry is that it covers everything. Our show is much more about design and very elaborate, but it also includes something like a Castle Blood, which is out of a house. It's a very gothic, a very singular theme, and they're not really trying to scare you as much as make it more like an interactive game.
It does
kind of thing.
It does. Yeah, it's an interactive game thing with them. It does seem a little more family friendly. Like you can bring the kids to something like this. Yeah. But it was just like the contrast from going from Scare House to this was just like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I realized like that's probably the kind of thing, again, not even as elaborate as Castle Blood, but like back home where we come from, between here in Pittsburgh and Erie. That's probably what we grew up on, and something was scary. And then go to something like Scare House, which I think it's interesting. You refer to it as a show, which I don't think is some people consider something like a haunted house a show as much of it's just a bunch of scary things in the house.
Oh no, his is definitely a show.
The production values.
Well, and it's still something that we face nationally. I mean, with the association, with the industry, with some of the groups I belong to, is there's still a perception when I'm talking to a media or even locally, sometimes when I'm talking to reporters, there's still a perception of what haunted houses used to be. They're imagining it's going to be black walls, 12-year-olds in rubber masks, spray painted sets. I'm like, no, we have a costume designer in LA who we started talking to in March. We have full-time staff. We're doing all this very massive stuff. And certainly we're not the only ones doing that. I mean, there are other haunted houses at our level who are also doing hugely elaborate sets and everything else. But there is still that perception a lot of times when I'm doing interviews or going out for sponsorships or everything, I still to this day will get like, well, someone will say, meaning well, but they'll say, my daughter's 12 years old. I'm sure she'd love to help you out. I'm like, well, all of our actors are 18 or older. We've got payroll. We've got, there's still this gap. And that's the thing that the challenge for us is always to get people out to see the place, or even through the website and through the social media. A big part of what I try to do is explain to people, not necessarily in a braggy way, but just showing them what it is, just so they have a sense of why it's different than other haunted houses.
And again, going to the social media, like I said, I can't get away from you guys. It's, none of that's a bad thing. I'm just like, I can't not know what the Scare House is, being in a social media kind of circle here in the Pittsburgh area, which I thought has been pretty fascinating to see from the outside. I mean, I start, every time I turn around, there's, stuff going on Twitter. The bunny has its own account.
Yep.
I see
love
music
that, Bunny.
videos coming out of there.
Yep.
Friends in social media. The Crazy Scary happened this
Yep.
year.
Yep.
It was just, you can't get away with it. And of course, we're redistributing that ourselves. And hey, go look what our friends are checking out.
All part of the plan. I mean, one of the things that is tricky for me is, well, I think two things with social media, and a friend of mine said this best, and I agree with it. So much of what I'm doing on social media is stuff I'd probably be doing anyway, because I'm sort of wired like that, to just be constantly, my brain going around and look shiny over here and making connections and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it does enable us to talk about the haunt year round, because one of the challenges of our show is it's gotten so large, it's gotten so huge, it's gotten so expensive that as much of it's a big production and people see the giant lines and they see the giant crowds, you have to understand we have 1 month to make annual income to support a pretty large staff, full-timers, all that stuff. So the challenge is doing things on social media, doing some of these events that we sponsor and work with to let people know we're around year round, just reminding them, involving them in the process, because people like to see that we've already started building sets and everything else, but balancing it so that it's not, by the time October rolls around, people are going, that guy's still talking about that scare house thing. I remember he was talking about it last in February. It's the heavy
little tidbits, little breadcrumbs to bring them back to October to your door.
Exactly, it's that balance, because I could, even now, there are so many things going on. I'm sure I could be going crazy with the tweets and the Facebook of all the stuff we're doing, but then I know people would say, enough, it's March. I don't want to be that guy who, I think everybody has that friend or that family member or that coworker who really, really loves Christmas, and you go back to work in January and it's your first day back and he goes, 360 days till Christmas. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Well, it's funny that you said that you have 1 month to make annual income, and we've been talking to you. Well, Mike's been talking to you for a while, setting up this interview for you to come in. And you mentioned in an email earlier in the week that you've already sold tickets.
Yeah.
For October.
Wow.
Yeah,
we one of the things I've found is that which is one of the ironies, I think, of the haunted house industry, which again, there are about 3,000 of us, give or take, in the country, is that not all of them are quick to grasp social media, internet, everything else, which kind of blows my mind, because the primary audience of our shows tends to be young, active people. And to my mindset of, even if I wasn't into the whole social media thing, I'm going to, if that's what how my audience relates and communicates, obviously I'm going to want to try to reach out to them. And so many websites for haunted houses and events, sometimes they're not being updated until September or a couple weeks before they open. And last year we said, well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not like we're trying to surprise people. So why not, at this point, especially in this market, I feel like people know we're coming. There's no reason to hide anything. So let's go ahead and go online in May. And it made our lives so much easier, because then come in May, when you're talking to potential sponsors or potential marketing partners, or just trying to get logistical things figured out, having your tickets online, having everything going in May was pretty nice. So it was at some point this year, we said, well, let's just shoot for March and see what happens. And we did. And we have, our tickets are on sale. And when we set them up in March, I think the thought was, let's put our tickets online, because it's a very time consuming process. It's not the fun creative process, but let's get them online so it's one less thing to worry about. And yeah, sure enough, over the last week, it's not a deluge. It's not like Groupon level buying or anything, but there have been some people buying tickets already for November for our Lights Out event.
Wow.
The lights, the Lights Out was interesting. I didn't hear about this until, again, right after. Was this a new thing this year, or?
It was a new thing we tried. One of the things I love about my industry, and especially where we are, having gone to the shows and things, being around for a while, is the networking you can do. We're actually we're part of a group called America Haunts that represents about 18 of the sort of more well-known, if you will, established haunted houses in the country. And every year we'll get together and basically network and brainstorm ideas. And it was actually a haunted house in Austin and then another haunted house in Baton Rouge that had both done similar kind of things to this Turn Out the Lights event, where essentially they both did it similar to us. You know, your normal season ends, and then you open for an extra weekend, and then turn out all the lights, and just kind of change the show and tweak it. It's sort of a way to offer a totally different kind of experience. And we said, well, that could be fun, that could be entertaining, and the audience really, really liked it. It was one of the top events we did last year in terms of audience feedback.
It's got to bring back just kind of bring a video game to replay value to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be people that are like, I've been there, and it's like, oh, now they're doing this.
It's interesting to mention video game, and I know this probably Chachi could relate to this. It is kind of like unlocking the special level, because it's the same haunted house.
It's the Master Quest,
right?
It's much darker. We really had fun with it. We tweaked characters. You know, the bunny. It's the only time of the year you can hear the bunny talk. He talks at Turn Out the Lights, but the rest of the time he doesn't. We took some of the Delirium characters and made them kind of scary, and
Now, how did that one work with the lights out?
Most of Delirium is not part of Turn Out the Lights for that very reason. It doesn't really work to have the party kind of environment. Yeah, but we just had so much fun with it, and there are kinds of things you can do with an event like Turn Out the Lights that we can't do normally, because the throughput is much slower, because it's obviously pitch black.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we did is we actually turn off a lot of the sound effects as well, so we can actually whisper in people's ears, and we can stomp.
So it's quieter as well.
Much more quiet, much more, yeah.
Well, if I thought I was getting strangled at the normal event, I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chachi had quite an experience, because we had these two 15, 14-year-old girls behind us.
Yeah, they were young.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of wearing my Pens jersey, which had a lot of extra material in it.
Yeah.
And like any normal scare place, you require the people behind you to put their hands on the shoulders of the person in front of you, which I completely understand. And had it been any normal group of people, I would have been fine.
Right.
But because I get the 15-year-old who's scared out of her mind,
oh my,
I couldn't breathe through most of it.
That was like half the entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
that way
it was.
through.
I mean, and that's what it is for me. It's the other visitors' responses to these things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That make me enjoy it more. That and the quality, which you guys have plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And I know we've discussed this off camera before, but I let it with an apology, because, I mean, a lot of people take their job seriously, like they should, and they like to scare people when it comes to this. So I apologize to you in advance before I started commenting, but I flat out told them that I laughed
I
most
love
of the
that.
way through it,
Yeah.
because it was just, it's fun.
I love, there's such a fine line, I think, between people being scared and people laughing. And even when people are scared, you know, you look at the videos on our website and stuff, their instant reaction sometimes is to laugh right after it. Or like you said, they're laughing at the person in the group who is so freaked out they can't even grasp what's happening. I mean, I think a successful haunted house tries to hit more than one emotion, just like a successful horror movie or successful form of any kind of entertainment. Yeah, you couldn't do half an hour of just boo, ah, boo, ah. You know, there has to mix in some humor. And I mean, we really try to do that even with the bunny.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's kind of creepy, but he's also pretty funny.
Oh, I had a blast with
Yeah,
him.
and there's a weird thing there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had a blast with him. He came down to Chachi Plays. And he came down at an hour I wouldn't have preferred it originally, just because I was starting to get exhausted at that point. But, I mean, it was still a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great character, and it's a great addition to any...
For those that may have not checked out Chachi Plays, the Scarehouse Bunny came down. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We started 7 the night before.
Yeah.
And played Raving Rabbids, I think, 2 for the Wii.
Yeah.
That was perfect. That was amazing. It was great. It was great. And it's just the people coming into Ninja Entertainment to see this scene of the, you know, whether they recognize it as the Scarehouse Bunny or not. Right. I mean, there we were like, I remember we were sitting there watching. There would be people walking down Smithfield Street downtown and just like they're walking, stop and like, what the?
Because this is February, correct?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the middle of February, like the 13th or something. So it's like, what? It's like Easter? What?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a blast. You mentioned earlier Groupon. let's get back on the social media
Sure.
aspect of this. You guys used Groupon to drum up more business or to sell tickets or whatever you used it.
Yeah.
And we've been discussing on the show lately because of certain companies.
I remember you guys talking about it last week.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Power game where it was just a mess.
And that was with Living Social.
Yeah. And we said that it was the company's fault more than the group's fault. Like it wasn't Groupon or Living Social's fault; it was the company's fault. When you guys did it, did you have any set limit, or did you just sell as much as you could?
I know the night we went, we had a longer line than I remember. We were tweeting back and forth about it. But I was like, hey, the prepay line is longer than the walk up line, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And you said, a lot of Groupons cashed in.
It's the thing with Groupon, and I can't speak to Living Social because we've only dealt with Groupon, especially last year. I think it's getting a little bit more established, but I felt like last year on both ends there was still a certain amount of experimentation with it. And what had happened, especially on that night, was we had set a limit, and I had set a pretty ambitious limit, going, "Oh, wow, we'll never sell this many tickets in a day." But wouldn't it be funny if?
Which feels like that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and boy, we did. We sold a lot, and I had the tickets. In our case, we had done the Groupon. It was the last Monday in September, so essentially the Monday before we opened. And my thought process then had been, if I do this Groupon thing, that'll build up even more awareness for something that, as much as you say in social media, it feels like you can't get away from me, which I like. The thing in this age with people being so distracted, I feel I've said this for years, that if there's a point when certain people say, I feel like I can't get away from you, you're everywhere, that's probably just the point where most of the audience is going, I think I heard, what is that?
We're in a bubble,
away,
so you're getting it everywhere, whereas somebody maybe just has a Groupon, maybe just on the Twitter, you're everywhere people are. And I happen to be in all those places.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And the Groupon really helped. I mean, that week leading up to open, tremendous amount of web traffic, social media traffic, and nice bump from the ticket sales. What we weren't sure, and even Groupon themselves weren't sure about, is we had set limitations of it had to be Monday through Thursday or Sunday through Thursdays. And I think both Groupon and us were thinking, well, this is a great deal. People will grab that Groupon and use it this week, or use it, early in the season when our traffic is not necessarily that high. And one of the things we found, which I was really interested in, is people got the Groupon, and I was seeing it on Facebook and Twitter. They were telling me, I bought the Groupon today because I'm coming on October 30th, or I'm coming on October 28th. And I was really surprised by that. And I thought it was interesting, something that anyone else who's ever doing Groupons or Living Social or things might be surprised that how far in advance people are. They're not only taking advantage, but they are absolutely willing to plan 4 and 5 weeks in advance. And that's why even towards the end of the month, this past season in particular, we did start having some longer pre-sale lines. And it still moved faster. We were still able to coordinate it. But it was surprising to me how many people would buy a ticket 5 weeks in advance.
I think we went on to it Thursday next to last week in the month. So
because
you
bought them on the Groupon, and we just didn't have time to go.
Yeah, and we were like, well, if we're not going now, my schedule just didn't permit. So I was like, we're going. So
it was one of those. You contacted me on a Tuesday and said, we have to use these tickets before the season's over, so we should probably go Thursday. I'm open Thursday.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that, too.
Did.
I think there's a lot of that, too. I mean, the same thing kind of happened with me. I went on, they had these kind of tailgate cruises for the Steelers games. And I just kept putting it off, and then realized, to the point where the one over Thanksgiving was out. The next one was out. All I had was that last game on Christmas Eve, and it seemed like it might have been had a lot going on there, and it's and I think that's what happened with Living Social with the Power game is everybody's really curious about what arena football is around here because a lot of people don't
Everybody's
have
talking about it.
Yeah, and it's this town's real hot coming right off of Super Bowl, for better or worse, of course. But so there was a lot of curiosity, and a lot of people are going to cash in the first game.
Yeah,
and I know there was a 45-minute wait for the one guy. He missed the first part of the game, and but right off the bat, he's mad at Living Social.
Yeah. Well, I will say, not to talk too much smack about a giant conglomerate corporations. The Groupon, because it is still a new technology, we have through Scarehouse, we have a very robust online ticketing system, and it's really fantastic. We can do all kinds of tracking and data entry. We've had very, very few problems with processing the amount of people who buy tickets online. And the Groupon system is not really a system, in all honesty. They sort of give you the data and they say, here you go. And I think that's probably, in some ways, in retrospect, I think that I put a lot of blame on myself for not doing a little bit more research into how is this data going to work with our existing systems. And when you're dealing with a very large amount of people, like I'm sure the Pittsburgh Power was, it can be hard to go, how do we process this many people? And it's a little tricky. And
I know in our case, like, it wasn't intolerable, the actual as far as we're like, I remember the first time I was wrapped around the building. So that wasn't bad. It was just kind of funny that these guys were a little bit further ahead of us. Were there worse nights, thanks to the Groupon?
No, I don't know about worse nights, because the thing that can happen, and this is true, that there are going to be nights when the advanced ticket line is going to be longer, but it does always move faster. The secret is because somebody with a existing barcode is always going to be able to get processed 3 times as fast as the guy who's got to pull the credit card out, pull the change out, and that's really, there's no secret to it, but it's just, and it's also one of the reasons why we like people to buy the advance tickets, because it's a barcode. Just bing, thanks, go.
It's less work for you. You don't have to try to process and make that line grow.
And I think what also helped with the longer line is your guys' characters that are outside.
Oh yeah.
I think the character interaction before you even enter the building.
Oh, I think it's
it's
like it primes everybody,
right?
And I enjoy the waiting room. For those that haven't been to the Scarehouse, is you have your waiting room after you give your ticket, and there's just these old movie trailers, tremendously like, I don't know, grindhouse
style.
It's amazing,
and they're all public domain kind of thing, but they're all things that, and that's another thing that does require a lot of time. Is there are things from old kung fu movies from the 70s and old really obscure horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and then I'll go in and scratch them and add all kinds of funny things and put in the old drive-in movie cards and things like that. And I'm a huge, as most of our creative team is, huge theme park fans. And if you go to Disney or go to Universal, that's such a part of setting the mood, and setting the mood not only so that the line seems much, much more fun, but it makes it so much easier if the first time I try to have a character jump out and scare you, you've already been set up for a certain mood, as opposed to just, okay, 1 minute I'm in a parking lot, now all of a sudden I'm in a haunted house. It's sort of there have to be degrees of staging to sort of get you ready for the themed experience you're about to enter.
There was a question in the chat room about Living Social and not being familiar. For anybody else, it's on one or the other. If you're on Living Social or Groupon, they're pretty much the same thing. It's like a group.
It's just little differences. With Living Social, if you get 3 friends to buy the same deal that you buy, yours is free.
And I think Groupon is like, so many people have to buy it before it's available for you to actually purchase. Like you're reserving it in the event. If you like, let's say if Scarehouse had like, you want to sell at least 200 tickets, and God forbid you didn't sell 200 tickets, that's it. Your money didn't go anywhere.
Right.
It's not. It's just that whole social thing. So I think that's how they kind of have you want to share it with your friends so you can get the deal kind of thing on that. So
now you guys have used all types of social media for this, and like one of the first things I saw from you guys was the zombie music video by Best Friend Fight, which I found amazing. I thought it was a great piece of work, both by the group and by the video itself.
Totally.
And I've noticed that you guys do as much as you can to give back to the community.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, 2 answers to that. I think the short answer to giving back is I met my wife Barb actually working at a haunted house, and my background is working at the nonprofit volunteer haunted houses, which have largely gone away.
Mm.
And that's because putting on a haunted house is such a time-consuming process and such an expensive process. It's kind of out of the realm of the nonprofits anymore. You know, it's because of safety precautions, because of the cost of having to advertise, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that as much as we can, we try to do community events, try to give back, because we are not, you know, we are a for-profit business, but as much as we can, we like finding ways that we can give back to charities, but also we're lucky enough that our event does get tremendous amount of attention in September, October. I mean, we get the really long lines, we get the news coverage, we get tremendous amounts of web traffic. And what I like to do with when we're in the heat of it is how can I use this to sort of draw attention to some other, you know, ideally draw attention to things like some of the things with Make Room for Kids and some of the things Michelle's doing, and draw attention to that stuff, because I'm like, well, that's something that will benefit people and actually have good. But we also try to extend that to one of the things we've started doing more and more over the last few years, which has really been fun, is as a haunted house, as a event, you know, we spend a lot of our time trying to reach out to sponsors. And a few years ago, we decided, well, why shouldn't we should be doing the same thing? We should be sponsoring events. So we sponsor things like PodCamp. We sponsor the local roller derby.
Let's say thank you for PodCamp.
Sponsor the roller derby. We sponsor the Moonlit Matinee movie series at the Oaks, which runs all summer. And a big part of that is partially it helps us, what I was talking about earlier, you know, throughout the first roller derby game was about a month ago, and there it is, February and March, and people are already going, Scare House, oh, okay. But what more importantly, I think, is it's taking our audience and saying, okay, this has nothing necessarily to do with Halloween and haunted houses, but I have a feeling you guys would like roller derby. I have a feeling you guys would like seeing, you know, some of these Return of the Living Dead back on the big screen, that kind of thing. And it's a big factor for me is if it's a local business that's maybe fits the needs of the audience, and then, you know, can sort of raise up some awareness of that. And then sometimes it's just, this seems like something that's kind of cool and we all like it, so let's just do it. And I mean, that's one of the things that's nice about running this as our own business. You know, we really do everything. You know, we do our own advertising, we do our own website, we create all our own videos. And in the case of the music video last year, there really wasn't any larger scheme of, I mean, we've announced that we're doing Pittsburgh Zombies this year, but last year we didn't even have a zombie-themed haunt. It was just that Rob Johnson, a.k.a. Rob on the Run, who has been doing our behind-the-scenes videos for a couple years, he, point of order, he actually was doing Scarehouse videos before he became Rob on the Run. He was talking about, he and Matt had formed this best friend fight. They had done the zombie video, or the zombie song, and it really was, well, we have such creative people here, we should do a video. And it just grew and became my James Cameron type moment of, I need dancers, I need fog, I need a set, bring me Andy Gassmeyer. And, you know, it became this really big, elaborate, expensive thing. And even now, a year later, like, I can't justify any of that. Like, if this was a corporate company, at no point did I say, here's why we did a music video. I don't know, just because it was cool.
But it was a really cool thing. You played it going in, and we're like, oh, yeah. It is that feel. You know, like we talk about, you know, on the other show about wrestling, you know, having the big fight feel is had the, like, this place is for real.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's like these aren't a bunch of amateurs doing this, and it's real great. And I think you guys really come off as, you know, I mean, when you see stuff like the Ghost Hunters showing up in the Travel Channel, I mean, I think that's, you know, reinforcing the point that, you know, how you guys present yourself. And I don't think, I haven't heard anybody's disappointed when they go in.
No.
Oh, good.
And I mean, you can't justify a reason for the music video, and that makes complete sense to me, because there's nothing in your haunt that says zombies.
Yeah, there will be this year.
Yeah, have you had zombies in the past at all?
I mean, you always have zombies, but never like a specifically designed scene. Yeah, it's always, you know, they go everywhere. They're a good side dish, you know.
It's a missing something. We need to put some zombies.
Right. But I did notice that the video itself entertained everyone.
Yeah.
Waiting to get into the haunt.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
there was, I think the day we went, there was a 60 to 70-year-old guy in the lobby who was having a blast watching that video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And was completely entertained by that.
Well, and the video in particular is a good example of something that started as this will just be a fun thing. We'll do this low budget. We'll just screw around or have some fun with it. And the team that does all this stuff, we were sitting together, and the more we listened to Rob, I call it Rob's song, but he also did it with Matt, the other half of Best Friend Fight. The more we listened to the song and realized it was so good, we thought, well, this song is so good, it deserves a video as good as what this song is talking about. And that's where, at one point in the brainstorming process and budgeting process, there was talk of doing stop motion zombie armies and everything else. And we just finally started scaling back. And it did, it gets a lot of views on YouTube, and it's, one more thing of conversation. And it did end up coming around because as we were shooting the video last year, in my mind, when I started thinking about doing a zombie themed haunt and tying it specifically to that Pittsburgh thing, our tradition of making all the haunted or making the zombie movies and the zombie culture. And if you look at the zombie teaser video that we have on scarehouse.com and on our YouTube page, you'll see that there are a lot of elements in the music video in terms of some of the branding and positioning and everything else. It was already established. So that's one of the fun things to me is like, well, I could possibly argue that a year ago we were teasing the Pittsburgh Zombies thing, but that would be a lie. But
to the uninitiated,
yes.
We're like, wow, those guys really think ahead.
Right. And the same thing happened, in some ways, the same thing happened with the new haunt we had last year of Forsaken. We had bought a prop 2 years ago. There was just this cool, it was a small child, but it was sort of combined with a tree. It was a one-off that an artist in Ohio had made. And it had this really weird kind of backwoods, creepy, mutant kind of feel to it. It was very organic, but very disturbing. And we bought it because we always liked it. We had no idea what to do with it because it was so nice to just use as a prop. So we put it in the display case in our lobby. And in looking at it, when we started talking about what new haunt to do last year, we said that image and that figure is so evocative, and it sort of started us talking about things, and that became the Forsaken. And same thing, I started thinking, could I argue that maybe like 2 years ago we were hinting at what was coming? So Pittsburgh Zombies as a music video was the same kind of thing. In the process of going through that and brainstorming all the things we could do in the music video, it also opens up that other part of your head of going, couldn't we do some of this in an actual attraction? But, so it's all that creative process. You never know where the ideas are going to come from.
Excellent. Again, I want to shout out a friend of ours, Veronica.
Yes.
Participated a little bit in the promo video. And she has a little bit of behind the scenes, and the video is posted also at scarehouse.com, of course, but vrockstudios.wordpress.com. So, and it's really cool because like she says here, this plain pictures she took around town, and just it turned into this really nice organic feeling.
It was very much a super secret squirrel project. Even I don't believe we told Veronica what we were actually doing. I think I just gave her specific images to take because we were so paranoid that somebody would.
Her marching orders.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, scarehouse.com, check it out, and guys, you're going to be trickling stuff out over the next few months.
Yeah, I think, definitely. Probably the next thing we'll be able to do, we'll be announcing the titles for this year's Moonlit Matinee at the Oaks. Mm-hmm. This will be our third year of sponsoring that. The Randy over at the Oaks is really the brainchild behind all of that. I largely tend to stay out of his way. He does indulge me a little bit, but it's definitely he is definitely driving the truck on that. But that's probably the next announcement from us will be all the movies that will be shown at the Oaks this summer.
Last thing I'm seeing in the chat room, we want to get some news here from Funky Dung. Coincidentally, there's a horror-themed hashtag meme going around Twitter right now of horror sitcoms. Scott, do you have any good ones?
2.5 Men, even before the Charlie Sheen thing, used to hurt me so much.
Oh, I hate it. It's always on in the waiting rooms. Kills me.
Just the cadence of the modern sitcom of line, joke, laugh, line, joke. It makes me want to punch things. So that's my horror sitcom is 2.5 Men.
Fantastic. Well, I guess to get to the news, as we teased a little bit,
Right.
Scott, what cell phone provider are you on?
I am on Verizon.
Oh, so we got three. We got three. Nobody cares about Sprint.
Right.
Of course, the big news broke Sunday. The word is AT&T is buying T-Mobile.
T-Mobile USA.
I was finishing USA from their German counterpart. Of course, they're
Right.
based in Germany, and everything. So, Chachi, you wanted to lead this off.
I do.
Take a big gulp.
I did.
Put the camera on yourself, and you can have the floor.
All right. Let's start with T-Mobile's Q&A.
You received this as a T-Mobile customer.
As a T-Mobile
you have a
customer.
G2 Android phone. We've
Right.
talked about it before.
It was sent to my email, and they posted it on Twitter.
Okay.
Here are the questions they're being asked. And I'm not going to read their complete answer. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to group them. Okay? So here are the questions.
I've organized this for your consumption.
Will my service change? Will I now be billed by AT&T? And is T-Mobile USA getting the iPhone? I can answer all three of those questions one shot. No. That's it.
Well, the big thing is,
Right.
for everybody right now, at least for a year, nothing's changing for
Yeah,
you.
nothing.
It's business as usual.
Right.
This
It's
is-
going to take at least a year for this deal to get hashed out.
Mm.
Even longer. To the point where AT&T gave T-Mobile $3 billion and said, this is just in case this thing falls.
That's just in case, and there's actually already been a little bit today. A senator has asked the DOJ and the FCC to apply friction to this process,
Right.
Because the numbers I'm hearing is I think both these companies together will account for 42% of the cell phone market,
Right.
which is up from I think around 28 is Verizon's, and Sprint's like under 10. I think. This is all off the top of my head, of course.
But in that market, in the United States, 42% is a monopoly.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's all there is to it. Unlike common knowledge, where everyone thinks that 51% or more is a monopoly, that's not true.
It's a level of influence.
Right. When one company owns a majority share out of three companies, it's 42%. I mean, that's what it takes in this case. That's not...
But on the bright side, as Juggalo John points out in the chat room, at least those stupid ads will stop. I think the bubbly T-Mobile 4G girl is what he's referring to.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, then there's more to the Q&A.
Okay.
I can group these ones together. Let's see. Will my service change? Why is T-Mobile doing this? No, I'm not kidding.
Why are you doing this to
Why do
us?
bad things happen
We've
to
been
good
so
cell
good to you.
providers?
But that's what it says. It says, why is T-Mobile USA doing this? And will T-Mobile USA's quality be reduced? Okay?
Yes.
Those questions get grouped together also.
Okay.
They all deal with service,
Okay.
and they all deal with accounts.
Uh-huh.
If anything from this merger, and I will continue to call it a merger until the buyout happens, in this merger, the only thing that can happen is good things as far as service goes. You're taking two companies that couldn't accomplish something on their own thanks to Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
Verizon is such a huge company that they own fiber lines, they own call centers, and I'm not talking about call centers where you call to get help with your phones and stuff. I'm talking about the actual networking part of it that controls all the calls that are made, both on landlines and cell phones.
They've bought so much
Right.
of the bells back.
Right. Verizon owns so much stuff that AT&T and T-Mobile can't expand or build their LTE network without teaming up.
And the sticking point on this,
Both companies would go broke trying.
the sticking point on what they're going to be going broke trying is upgrading to LTE.
Right.
Because of I don't know what magic sauce that Verizon has with their setup now, but they have LTE. It was all over the arena the other night. It's all over your TVs. It's all over every video I watched on YouTube that has ads. But they're like, we're LTE, we're here, and we're not BSing about it.
Right.
And whereas, everybody else, well, Verizon too is, but everybody else, and even more so with T-Mobile, was their DSPA Plus, I think I got the letters right there, is not 4G, guys. Nobody has 4G. It's a marketing term. The standard for 4G is actually a good bit higher than what any of these guys are capable of. But even to reach that fake LTE 4G, apparently, T-Mobile and AT&T can't compete with Verizon on their own.
They can't do it. And I have personal experience when it comes to dealing with Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for a dial-up internet company.
Mm-hmm.
With dial-up internet, you have to deal with Verizon. If Verizon says no, you can't buy any of their lines in an area, you're not reaching that area.
Mm-hmm.
If Verizon says, we want $1,500 per circuit in this area, if you don't give them $1,500 per circuit or more, you're not getting in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Verizon has that power. So, I mean, AT&T and T-Mobile are doing what they have to do to survive. If it means that one company gets swallowed up in another, that's fine.
And it's unfortunate because I know a lot of people that are on T-Mobile, are like, it's good to us. The customer service is the best. And
you know what? I'm not going to advocate drug use, but I honestly think that upon entering the T-Mobile call center every morning, each employee is given a supply of Coke to last them through the day. Because they are always happy and bubbly, and they are always ready to go. I have never talked to a sad T-Mobile rep. Ever.
They got them all from the same place they got the girl in their commercial. Maybe she's from the call center.
I have never, ever called T-Mobile and got a rep that was having a bad day. They don't have those at T-Mobile. They don't exist.
LTE. I don't know. I think I summed up LTE. I don't know. LTE is a faster technology. I don't know the specifics beyond that. Rob probably does.
Right.
Yes.
You'd have to tune in next week. Rob could explain it all to
plus
you.
LTE.
As far as I know, LTE is half a step up to the next 4G.
Yeah.
It's a stepping stone to get where they want to go, but they can't get there yet.
That was so epic the way you put that.
Wow.
So somebody on the outside, that's just the heat.
Okay.
Somebody on the outside of Verizon, what do you think?
I'm one of those guys that I when it comes to technology, I sort of approach it the same way as some guys approach cars. Like, I think we all know a lot of guys who love talking about cars, love getting under the hood, love tweaking, fixing, breaking things. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm definitely the guy, like, the first time a car breaks, I'm like, hey, I don't enjoy this. And I'm the same way. The first cell phone I had was on Sprint, and it was dropping, it was doing everything else. So at one point with the Verizon, I've had very few problems with it. When the iPhone started coming out, I was like, oh, the iPhone, pretty. But then hearing all the stories about dropped calls and this, that, and the other, I'm like, all right, well, Verizon works, I'm good. I'm just gonna ride it out. I'm not one of those guys who would ever who would be convinced to switch or change, because I'm like, well, this works, I'm good.
Okay, so you get comfortable where you're at and just...
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine.
For a little bit of geek cred, I'm sure, for our chat room analysts, what do you carry for a phone?
Oh, the Droid, the HTC Incredible, which is a very good name and a very appropriate name for the phone, because it's the Precious.
They're good things. They're good things.
Yeah, the camera in particular, for someone who's crazy for tweeting and sending photos up, is very handy. And I'm sure this thing can do 20 or 40 other things that I have no idea how to make it do, but really, really happy with it.
Well, I have an HTC also, so I'm right there with you. I love their device.
If I was to go Android, which is completely outside the realm, I definitely look to HTC in some form or another. Because from the ones from Droids I've seen, from his, they look like the best built phones out there.
I mean, they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the discussion offline yesterday, where I said that I wouldn't change networks for a phone. I'd made a comment that I would, I like the Atrix, which is the new phone from AT&T that comes with the laptop that you plug it into.
Okay.
And you can just type away on it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a fun device to have. Like,
Mhm.
I would like to play with it for a little bit at least. But I said that if I was going to move to AT&T, I would get the iPhone.
Yeah.
And I caught so much flack for that. being a Droid user, I caught so much crap. People calling me, like saying that I was a traitor,
Mhm.
or that I was now a fanboy for Apple. And that's not the point I was making.
Right.
I just know that if I was moving to AT&T, it wouldn't be for a phone.
Right.
It would be because, well, now I have to. But, I mean, before, it would just be because I was looking for something better.
Now, I will say, in terms of Apple, I am definitely that guy who, a couple years ago, I'm very weary of all the problems I'm having with my PC. I'm going to try. I know the artist guys I work with all speak highly of Mac. I think I will try a Mac, and I am now that guy that the hardcore nerds hate. Like, oh yeah, he buys a Mac because it never breaks. Like, that's because it doesn't break.
Yeah, let's see. That's the reason.
Yeah.
I don't have to call you anymore.
Yeah, we had to purchase a laptop just the other day that was PC based, and we were at the store and I was watching it boot up and going through the whole process and going, oh yeah, I remember this. This kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I used to build them, and now it's like I'm more into video production and everything, and it's like I can't be stuck fixing a motherboard anymore.
Right.
I'm just gonna buy a Mac.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, when the other day, I think it was actually this morning, I was in Mac and the web browser crashed, and I literally went, huh. Because it's literally the fourth time that's happened to me in a year and a half. And like, well, I remember when that was, like a daily thing on the old computer. And I think that in a business and when I'm so multitasked and everything else, it really is. I know the Macs are more expensive and everything else, but boy, when you're running your own business and you're have your time frame, like downtime is really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to spend a little bit more on a Mac, but I know that I don't have to walk away from the computer and go, it's not going to crash while I'm in the other room for some random reason, is it? That's worth it to me.
You have plenty of Apple stores in the area if it should happen.
Oh, yeah.
But
to not get all fanboyish here. But
speaking of AT&T.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make one this leads into the next one.
No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, I'm somebody that's, I think Missy had AT&T Wireless when they weren't part of AT&T. I say proper, the company, the landline company, cable company, whatever the hell they had back in the day. Got that section. I actually sold the phones on that service. That was a wonderful experience. Got bought by Singular, I remember. That whole entity got absorbed by AT&T, which spun off wireless, that got bought, and they rebought. So put that together. So I've seen the headaches as far as this, and that was just really just kind of company shifts.
Yeah.
The greatest thing that came from it is we got rollover minutes from AT&T that we didn't have before, which I'm surprised they still have that, to be honest. that I thought that would have faded at some point, but apparently it's still a big sell. I know we have like 5,000 of them. But my problem is, and I fear for this T-Mobile, is your great customer service. And I really worry about your build of phones, but being that there'll be less competition, hopefully AT&T gets a little more serious about Android. Atrix aside, they haven't been.
Right.
I'm sorry, you're on AT&T. This is your only kind of real option, and I think they just got the Windows Phone. And as a case, and a little
Sword, let me ask you something.
All right.
And this is going to catch me more crap, but you're looking for a cell phone company.
Yeah.
All right. You're not currently on AT&T, but you research AT&T, and AT&T is the best for your neighborhood
area,
and your area of work. If you're going to AT&T, honestly, put your fanboyism aside. All right. Are you gonna pick an Android, or are you gonna go iPhone?
Well,
honestly,
based on the shiny commercials that are way better than the scary Android commercials or whatever, or little aliens or whatever's going on there. I've ranted about this before. It's going to be an iPhone.
Right. You're gonna take the phone that has a solid company backing it.
Yeah.
A company that has been there for 20 plus years.
And I think the other thing is, I think people may be asking, what's an Android?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's and I think the apps too. I mean, I don't know the background, but I mean, there's many more.
The commercials show off what it does.
Yeah.
We can do a lot of stuff, but we're going to show you the scary eyeball.
Well,
and again, I'm specifically Verizon with the Droid. Come on.
The market, Apple had the market.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, by the time Apple got into phones, they were set.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knew the reputation, knew that they were a solid company.
And it was built off of iPods.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all they had to do was make an iPod that could call people.
And we understand
and that's what they
their
did.
competition at the time was the Windows mobile phone, which was a lot like Windows.
Yeah.
And but anyways, as a little preview of what you can expect, if you're one of those people that keeps telling me to jailbreak their iPhone so they can use tethering, because I don't want to get out of my grandfather's unlimited plan, just pay $20 more for 2 gigabits of data. It's not worth it to me,
Right.
We got a Verizon MiFi with the iPad. That's fine. We're good, okay?
Dear
I'd rather...
user.
So, dear user.
We've noticed your service plan may need updating. Many AT&T customers use their smartphones as a broadband connection for other devices like laptops, netbooks, or other smartphones, a practice commonly known as tethering. Tethering can be an efficient way for our customers to enjoy the benefits of AT&T's mobile broadband network and use more than one device to stay in touch with important people and information. To take advantage of this feature, we require that in addition to a data plan, you also have a tethering plan. Blah, blah, blah. Our records show that you use this capability but are not subscribed to a tethering plan.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to list all of the details.
Listen, if you're wondering how the heck they're doing this, I've been doing it for so long, they never caught me, etc., etc. I swapped a SIM card from a unsmartphone, let's call it, one of those like kind of texting, you can probably pay $10 for unlimited internet plans, into what?
Boost Mobile.
No. I mean, for an AT&T phone.
Okay.
One of those little kind of, not BlackBerry, but it has Facebook. Okay. It was an AT&T Tilt Windows phone. It recognized that and upgraded our plan automatically to a smartphone plan, and I couldn't trick them. So
Right.
if they can figure that out,
The companies know what you're doing on their network.
yeah, they have an idea. It's their network, and you're like, well, I should be able to do anything that I want. No, it's their network, guys. It's okay. Yeah, it's your phone, but go find somebody else that'll take your phone on their network because it's their network. And that's where the regulations come in. That's where the fight comes in. And this is more stuff that can be locked down if somebody gets too huge, like AT&T T-Mobile. So, and that's the work.
T-Mobile called me when I put a SIM card into a Sidekick.
Oh, wow. And they do the customer service. They're sending a mass text to everybody else on AT&T.
Right. No, when I tried to put my SIM card into a Sidekick, they called me on the Sidekick.
Is everything all right? Why the heck do you have a Sidekick?
Yeah, they're like, your account came up as having a Sidekick, but you don't have that data plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add that data plan so you can use the full capability of the phone?
There are special features with that. They actually just shut down the servers for the Sidekicks in the last couple of weeks.
Right. That's because they're moving on to the LTE.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, they know what you're doing. You're on their equipment. They're able to tell what you're doing.
A little bit of positivity for you, sir.
Positivity.
You got to look at it a little bit. 2 things just came out this week that of interest to you.
Oh, I downloaded it.
You downloaded it. There's the Amazon App Store, of course, is the big news I'm talking about.
Yes.
But even more importantly today, and why I'm excited, the new Angry Birds, guys. Angry Birds Rio came out, and you lucky bastard.
I got it for free.
You got it for free.
Yes, because the Amazon App Store is Android only.
Oh. Well, it's specifically the Amazon App Store, and obviously they're not going to be able to do anything like this for iTunes, but there are several app stores aside from the main one that you can use for the Android already.
There are.
And why not Amazon? Look what they did for books.
Right.
Why not? I bought Xbox Live games off of Amazon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, why not? And how was your experience? What is your review as an avid Android user?
Okay. Well, obviously, you can't get the Amazon App Store in the Android App Store.
No.
So
there was some debate on it's like, okay, is it competition? Is Google going to block it?
Right. So you have to go to Amazon and get it, which is fine. They send you a text message. You enable third-party apps. It downloads. It installs. You open it. Bam. New App Store. It looks like Amazon. You use your Amazon account for it. You don't use any of your Android device accounts. Will you turn that off?
Oh no, I'm sorry. You go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, I'm just sampling Angry Birds on the iPad.
Anyhow,
Talk about
from
that
what
in a
I can
moment.
tell, they have an app daily that is going to be free.
Which was, holy crap, Angry Birds.
Yeah.
Granted, it's 99 cents, but still.
Right. They came out with a new Angry Birds. It's Angry Birds Rio.
Based on the new
Based
movie
on the
coming
new
out.
Bird movie coming out. Rio.
As you can hear.
Yeah. Sorg is playing that in the background.
But it was pretty easy, and it looks pretty good on your Android. I got, of course, right here. Instead of pigs, you're battling. You're saving the birds from the cages.
Right.
Let me get a little bit here. See those? I don't know how much they can see there going on, but
it just looks like.
And the graphics look really nice for it.
Right.
Like
and
they
it's
have.
not just on the iPad that it looks.
It looks
nice.
really nice on yours. My 3GS, it didn't look too hot. I grabbed the free version just to see how it ran.
I mean,
I'm sure it looks fantastic on like the Retina version.
Yeah,
but
they cleaned it up.
Oh yeah,
the graphics are
a
crisper,
lot smoother. There's like another layer in front of it when
Yeah.
it moves. I mean, it's an upgrade. And one review I saw real quick was, I can't wait for them to do a proper sequel and add these features to it. And I've barely delved into this thing, and I will spend a lot of time with it because I've been up until this point backtracking back to Christmas and seasons, and this is the new one.
Right.
Yeah.
So yay, Angry Birds.
Hey, Angry Birds. Yeah, not saturated yet, amazingly. So, yeah. Oh, I forgot to drop our man a line here.
Yeah, he's waiting.
Is he ready? Oh, he's ready. He is ready. I did get him a line. So we had something kind of interesting set up here. Mad Mike from the Wrestling Mayhem Show, also Crisis of Infinite Mikes.wordpress.com. I screwed that up earlier. He's had the opportunity to test out the Nintendo 3DS, and considering I don't think I know anybody that has or expressed interest in buying this thing, meaning sorry, Tylenol stock is not going to go up in the Pittsburgh area. So for those who don't know, it's the new Nintendo DS, of course, the successor to the DS, DSi, whatever the heck the last one was, DSi XL. I've seen kids carry that around. I'm pretty sure it's for old folks. I don't get it. But this is the one for you if you haven't been able to hear about it or anything. I haven't seen commercials for it. Have you guys?
No.
I mean, really, not that I watch much regular TV anymore, but which is really surprising from Nintendo. You won't be able to get away from it. Like the Scare House, you won't be able to get away from it around Nintendo.
Hello, sir.
Around Christmas. So, Mike, now you've been testing this out down at at the Nintendo World Store, right?
At the Nintendo World Store and actually at Grand Central Terminal, they have a whole setup there until the end of March.
Nice.
Yeah, so a couple of my friends are coming in from around the various inner tubes next week, and I'm bringing them down. Thank you, Chachi. That's nice.
I was just getting that for you, sir.
Yeah. But, I went there to check it out because, like you were saying before, Sorg, I wasn't planning on getting the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there, and I wanted to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't. It's so, I have to give Nintendo props for constantly, staying ahead of everyone else. Because I've never played any game like I've played some of the games there before. Okay, now, I guess, the big thing is, of course, it's going to be a hardware upgrade, but it's the 3D. How does that play off your No Glasses 3D? Well, I played a couple different games. I played this game called Steel Diver, which is like a submarine game. It's a very basic game, at least the version I played. but it's really kind of cool because you have to hold the 3DS up, and it's like you're in a submarine, and you go back and forth trying to shoot down enemy subs with torpedoes. And they have on the 3DS, on the back screen, you can have it be 2D mode, which it's still fun, but when you enhance it to 3D mode, the graphics are amazing. Like, I was taken aback by how realistic it looks with the 3D images, even though it's just like basically two kind of light sources that are just coming in together, almost like you're crossing your eyes.
Okay.
But it comes together and it looks really awesome.
Did you have any great length playing these to see if there is a little while? How do you usually do with 3D, first of all?
Well, the first time I went to Grand Central, I probably played for about maybe a half hour, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I test ran, like, they had about 10 or 12 different stations. So I tried a whole bunch of different games. And I didn't really have any ill effect from it, but then again, I stare at a computer screen all day. It didn't really seem like it was that much. Like, I don't necessarily buy the fact that if you play it for an hour, you're going to start to get a headache. I mean, I could see maybe a neck ache because you're looking down at a screen, but I get the same thing when I play Angry Birds on my iTouch.
Mm-hmm. How sensitive it is? You say you're playing a game with a bit of movement. I see there's a gyroscope and motion sensor and all this stuff like in the iPhone. How does that? You said it's like crossing your eyes, so it seems like there might be a bit of focus needed. How does that work along with the motion? And and the question also is, can you play this thing in the car?
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe not all the games per se. Like Steel Diver, as I mentioned before, probably can't play in the car. Just because, like, I was literally turning around in a full 360 to look for the different submarines.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I was just trying it out, so I'm sure it's like, once it's like the Wii. When you start playing Wii Sports, you're like going Venus and Serena Williams when you're playing tennis, and then you realize, hey, I can just sit down and do the same thing.
Yeah.
I did learn that you can't play golf sitting down if you have small animals running around.
Oh, well, yes. Yeah.
That gets
And you also
dangerous.
can't play Wii Fit if you have small animals running around. Found that one out the hard way.
Yeah, me too.
But I tried the Face Raiders thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I believe it's a built-in game with the system, and it's kind of like the Mii system on the Wii, only it takes a picture of your face and then inserts you into the boss of a mini shooter game. And you just aim around, and you're aiming at your own head and these enemies that you have to shoot down, and sometimes you bop yourself in the head and it alters what your face to look like you're in pain. Or sometimes you can shoot a shot in your mouth and it looks like you have a giant like mouthful of cotton and you evaporate or whatever. But
I thought we were almost an unclean show there.
No, I was just having fun.
Oh no, I'm good. I know this isn't the Mayhem Show. I'm not.
I didn't know
allowed
where
to,
it was going.
Right.
Great. Well, now you're somebody. You have one of the newer iPod Touches, the iPhone 4 equivalent ones. I know you game a bit on it. There it is. How does it compare?
Well, it's kind of hard to compare them, only because I'm a button kind of guy.
Okay.
Like I have a few games on my iTouch that are joystick ready, and I just don't get as into it like as some of the other games. Like Angry Birds is fine because it's all just touchscreen sensitive, but I mean, being a Spider-Man fan like I am, I got the Ultimate Spider-Man game on my iTouch, and I mean it's fun. The graphics are amazing on it for what it is, but I mean maybe it's just because how I've been raised. I'm more of a button guy. Like I'd probably prefer a game on the DS as opposed to the iTouch, because I tried the Simpsons arcade game, like the free version on there, and I tried there was one I went to the Apple Store this weekend, and I tried a zombie shooting game,
Mm-hmm.
and it had the two thumb joysticks that, wherever you put your thumbs on the iPad, that's where the joysticks will pop up. And it was just really awkward and cumbersome because it's like you're trying to, like, I'm a large guy. I have big man hands. So, like, I'm
Man
holding this-
hands.
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I'm holding the smaller iPad too, and I'm trying to put my thumbs on it, but I'm also trying to see what's happening on the screen. And I don't know, it just doesn't really gel for me. Like, I like having my control buttons on a separate area than where I have to keep my focus on a video game. That
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
playing.
I just watched a review for NBA Jam on the iPhone today, and it said, a lot of times you get to the bottom corner of the screen, and that's where your thumb is.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know. I think it's comparable, and I guess it depends on the kind of. You're definitely going to get more pure games on this system.
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah. I mean that's a like. I know you had Infinity Blade, and I wanted to try
Mhm.
that out at the iPad store, but none of the ones that I demoed happen to have it on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it does look like a fun game. Like the graphics look amazing for it. But I'm more of a console guy, more of a handheld console kind of guy.
All right. Well, there you go. We got a little bit of a hands-on here with the Nintendo DS. Thanks, Mike, for joining us here from the Bronx. And your site again?
Crisis of Infinite Mics.wordpress.com.
Excellent. And of course, you can see Mad Mike. He joins us on the Wrestling Mayhem show that we record after this show here on Tuesdays. At roughly 8 o'clock. And we have a lot of fun on that show, too. Parental
Discretion
is
advised.
definitely advised for that one. So, well, on that note, we do have to get out of here for said show. Mike, we'll just leave you on here for that. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Scarehouse.com. And we're looking forward to see Pittsburgh Zombies coming up this fall.
Yep. Last weekend in September is when we opened. About 183 days away.
Follow your Twitter is,
Scarehouse Scott.
and what's the bunny is?
Scarehouse Bunny.
He's fun. He's fun to follow too.
Yeah. And
So-
Scarehouse is also on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, I think it's The Scarehouse, and Facebook, it's Scarehouse.
Everything's linked at the bottom of the site.
Yes.
So
Everything.
excellent. Shashi, you do things. You do
Sometimes.
things. I've started reading your blog. Amazingly.
I know.
Hey,
Considering that it's hosted on.
it makes it easier. And if I use the proper RSS feed.
That was me.
That was you.
I have
That was
my-
a lot of kicking.
Yeah, I have
you're
my
like
feet up on
you're
the,
kind of
built-in-
angry about me not reading your blog.
Well, yeah, I am angry about you not reading my blog, but considering I get most of my feedback
Listen,
from
you got like 1,000 games. I will have plenty of time to catch up.
Wow. You're fired.
What game are you on?
We posted 26 today of 1,000.
Do you have a staff over there at
I do.
chachisays.net?
I do.
So are you, forgive me for this, are you playing 1,000 games start to finish? Is that
Oh,
give me your
well,
mission
He's
statement.
not that crazy.
Not start to finish. Where'd it go? The book was.
Well, some games don't finish. Like
The
I'm
book-
sure
the
Tetris
book
is on
was
there.
right there.
Up there.
Right.
Up by the owl.
Oh, here.
Yes,
That-
there's an owl.
We got this. I got this book for Christmas. 1001 video games you must play before you die.
Ah,
And so,
So
did I.
I'm going
Thanks, Dana.
through and playing all 1001.
wow.
Some of them you can't beat because there's no ending. Online games and stuff like that you can't. So
Gotcha.
I'm just playing them for a fair length of time.
To kind of
Yeah.
see the gist of the experience.
Right.
Gotcha. Fascinating.
So,
I mean,
and that's all being posted every day except for the weekends because I take those off.
I realize it's still going to take you at least 5 years to do the whole thing.
It'll take me 5 years.
Uh,
If I post every day, a game a day, some days will be more than one game,
except weekends.
except for weekends.
I find it funny that you take weekends off from playing video games.
No, I don't take them off from playing. I take them off from posting.
Okay.
I still have to play on the weekend.
It's for you, the reader, who wants to have that break in that long day.
Right. So I mean, you do 52.
So you've done 52 so far.
No, I've done 26 games so far
Gotcha.
since the end of February. But I mean,
And what's been the best of the 26 that you've done? I'm hijacking the show.
26. No,
That's what I do. Sociopath.
either World of Warcraft or Uplink, which
Okay.
is a really simple hacker game from England.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
And how about the worst?
what was the worst?
Yeah.
EverQuest. EverQuest by
Oh
Sony
yeah,
Online
he has an
Entertainment.
episode of
Yeah.
Chachi Says the
Okay.
cast about
Yeah.
that, where I had to start censoring him because I thought maybe we didn't want to take the show in that direction.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
we had fun with
Yeah,
censoring him though.
I wanted the title of the show to be "F.U. Sony Online Entertainment."
Gotcha.
What did I
See,
end up naming? I ended up naming it after your hat.
Yeah, the name of the show ended up being
Chachi Says the hat for Chachi Says the man.
Yeah.
Because that's the
With-
only thing I could recover from it.
with every F-bomb being bleeped out by a Mario jumping sound.
You know how
Wow.
easy it is to find every sound from Super Mario Brothers 1 on the internet? I found out it's the second thing in Google.
Wow.
On that note, we do have to get
Yes.
out of here.
You wanna give them-
Sorgatron.com.
I want to hear.
What? Oh, me?
If you want to give them the
I
contact
thought you asked if I
information?
wanted to go home. I'm like, I am.
No.
This is my home.
Not anymore.
Contact, do your dance. Contact at AwesomeCast.com 724-258-CAST. It's from the mall. I can't not do that now. And of course, I'm over at Sorgatron.com. Check out all our fine shows at SorgatronMedia.com.
SorgatronMedia.com.
Whoa, we're on your YouTubes. We're on Blip TV. We're on MediaFly.
We're everywhere on the internet that you should be.
I think we're
Oh.
on Roku by
RedTube?
via the. No, we're not on
no.
RedTube. That's
That
okay.
is
You're
not-
getting too close to the wrestling
Yeah,
show.
that is not AwesomeCast friendly.
Thank you to our awesome chat. Thank you for our awesome guests. You're our awesome audience, and we'll see you guys next week.